Hello and welcome to Soups and Sabers. My name is Jordan, and with us for our first Fantastic Friday is Jack. All right, hey Jack.
Doing pretty good, in spite of what we're going to talk about today.
I was gonna say better than the movie we're about to talk about, right? That's
Yes,
how you feel.
much better than that. But that's such a low bar to clear.
I forget when it was. So I think this was last year sometime. We were talking about Fantastic Four coverage, and I don't know if you were joking or you found out I had never seen Fant4stic. We had been, talking about it. That's the movie we're talking about, guys. If you're watching this, you already know from the thumbnail and the title of the podcast or YouTube video you're watching. But we're finally getting around to Fant4stic, which is a movie I had avoided like the plague. I grew up, liking Fantastic Four. I pretty much probably knew them more from like maybe just like more like from osmosis of like pop culture stuff, and then like when Spider-Man was big. I remember this when Spider-Man was big at Walmart. They had like 88-cent dollar comics or something, and it was this pocket size. It may have been cheaper than that. I don't know. It was a pocket size Spider-Man issue 1 when he goes to join the Fantastic Four. So like I owned that. They released like the first I think 4 issues of Spider-Man like that, and I had like all 4 of them, and it would be like pocket size, and they were in black and white on the inside, so it was very cheap, right? It was like very cheap produced or whatever, but it was a gateway for people to get into comics. And when Spider-Man I think had first come out, like around 2002.
Mm-hmm.
2005, we get Fantastic Four the movie, and I go see that, and I love it. I was 14, so Jessica Alba was a key thing for me at that age to go. And for my parents, I think it was like I don't know if that was. Oh, it was before The Shield. I was gonna say Michael Chiklis became really big from The Shield on FX. It might have been around that time or something. So he was big because of that, and I went and saw it. I enjoyed it as a kid. I think I have not revisited recently, maybe a couple years ago, but then we get Rise of Silver Surfer. I remember that I was visiting my sister down in South Carolina when she lived there, and me and her went to go see Rise of Silver Surfer. I remember seeing the trailers for it and just thinking Silver Surfer looked so cool. And then the franchise was dead, right?
Yep.
The franchise was dead. I was able to still get my Fantastic Four fix from like playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, those games where you can mix and match teams, and I really thought that was cool. And then we get it gets rebooted in 2015. I don't know when that news broke. Let me see if I can find that in this article real quick. I feel like the way that these things work out. Oh, 2009. So 2009, I graduate high school, and they're like, we're rebooting because they needed to make a movie to keep the rights, or they need to start production of it, I guess. Because then this movie comes out in 2015, which would have been like 7 years. Usually these contract things are like 5 years. But yeah, 2014, Kinberg was finished rewriting the script after, I guess, a person wrote a script before that. So then, they start filming, and then we get 2015, and I don't know, I see the trailer for it. You see the costumes for it, and I just said, "Oh no thanks." I avoided it until this day. 10 years later, 10 years later, I finally get to watch this movie, and I blame you for that. So that's where we're at.
Well, my story with this is I hate to do this to you, but say in 2005 when the first Fantastic Four movie came out, when I was 5, I remember that I didn't get to go see it in theaters because it was a PG-13 movie, so that was a no-go. But when it came out on DVD, my dad rented it from the theaters and let me watch, or not from the theaters, from the movie store.
Oh, what a baller move that would be! It's like, give me your projector.
Yeah. No.
I will do this
From
in
the
my
movie
house.
store back when, because I grew up when there were still movie rental stores to make you feel less old, to balance it out.
Yes, that does make me feel
And
less old.
I got to watch it on DVD, and I was like, this is really cool. I really like this. And then I watched it in 2007, not in theaters once again, but rented. And I was like, this is really cool. I really like this, because I was 7 and I liked pretty much every movie that I watched.
Yeah.
As you do when you're 7. And so I was so excited in 2015 because I had like just gotten social media. So I remember seeing like posts about this, about Fantastic Four, about the 2015 one coming out. And I was like, oh my God, I loved those when I was a kid. I really like those. So I'm going to love this one too. And so it comes out in August 2015, right before my 15th birthday. And I was like, I need to go see this. And so I got to go on opening day to go see this movie during summer break. I used a day of my summer break to go to this. And I was so excited. I was like, it's the Fantastic Four. That's super cool. And then I watched it, and for the first time ever, I came out of a movie theater and felt disappointed with what I watched. That was like the turning point, in which before that I was like, hey, most movies that I watch, pretty good. Like I watched the movie G-Force in theaters, which is about CGI.
The hamster one?
Yes. And I came out of that and I was like, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. But Fantastic Four, Fant4stic was a bridge too far. I even watched that same year. I watched the movie Pixels, the Adam Sandler movie, in theaters, and came out of that saying, "Wow, that was really cool."
That was the same year.
I believe so, and
wow.
I
haven't seen that either.
That one's slightly more worth watching than this, but in 2015, I just remember getting out and I was like, man, that's sad. That was not a good movie. And so now a decade later, I watched it a second time. And I think, just a quote from what I told you when I was watching this, when I finished watching this, I said specifically, where is that? We messaged a lot about this movie as this was going on. Oh, there it is.
Because I made a post that I was watching it on the Twitter, and you saw that. You're like, oh, that post was like 10 minutes ago. So you're like 10 minutes in.
Yep. So had to take a break for a bit. Still have an hour to go. But yikes, man. I finished it. Good luck with surviving that. It was far worse than I remembered. So that was the preview that I gave to that. That even what 15-year-old me saw, I was like, wow, this is so much worse. So with that, how about we talk about some Fant4stic and this movie? I don't know if I feel confident calling this a movie, honestly. Maybe an amalgamation of things. I don't know.
And obviously, the only reason this happened was because of them needing to keep the rights, right? Like, it's the only reason this movie happens. And the reason that, like, it seemed like it was trying to jump on to, like, the Man of Steel, Dark Knight, like, we're going to do it darker, Amazing Spider-Man. But it was too late. Like, 2015, we were already kind of really latching on to the MCU, right? Like Age of Ultron had just come out, and we were heading towards Civil War.
Yeah, and also like with all of the superheroes to make into a dark and gritty story, the Fantastic Four, for like the first movie to start a franchise, presumably shouldn't be that, right? Like Fantastic Four, when I think of the Fantastic Four, I think retrofuturism, I think family elements, I think like,
I think
teamwork.
science, space, adventure.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
I think of those Jack Kirby drawings in like in the original comic runs and stuff like that. Like that's what I imagine.
so
Not
to
not this.
so to kind of like set it up for people that maybe you've avoided it like the plague, like I have, and you're like, oh, let's listen to them rip it to shreds. Good call. Two, uh, they do not get their powers until about halfway or more than halfway through the movie. So
Almost an hour in.
yeah, so
Out of 100 minutes.
It's an hour 40 something minutes, right? And yeah, I think it's almost exactly halfway is when like they were starting to experience their powers, I think, right? Which is we see Reed on the table with his stretched out arms.
The worst looking scene, I think, in that movie by far.
We see the Thing, all this kind of stuff. And all right, so that's a problem I have with it too, right? And Jack, I got to tell you this. I'm reading this little thing here by on the Wikipedia where it says, okay, so I guess I can kind of see where it maybe went wrong. So Trank is the director of this, and Slater was one that wrote the first part of the script. It says originally their ideas on the tone were total opposite. So Slater wanted like 2012 Avengers as the template, but Trank hated all of those ideas. Despite claiming he was a fan of the Fantastic Four when he was a kid, Trank had only seen the 1994 cartoon series and had no interest in the superhero movie genre.
Great
He admitted that he found himself unable to identify with Slater's more comic book centric tone. So Trank left Slater out of discussions with Fox Studios and withheld certain studio notes. So Slater says, I never saw 95% of those notes, and he left after 6 months. Because originally it says he inspired himself by reading Mark Waid and John Byrne, and I was like, I do not see this in this movie at all.
No.
Trank wanted it more like Batman Begins. They also didn't have the same budget as a big MCU movie. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how much was this movie budgeted for?
I think 120 million, I want to say, was where it was at.
Yeah. And it made 167.9.
Yep. Yeah.
So it didn't even make its money back because you still got to think you got to kind of double it.
Yeah.
And marketing.
Yeah, not even close to making the money back. And I believe the Rotten Tomatoes score was a 9%. So that's really great. But this movie, like, there's, I mean, you can choose to believe, like, studio interference. You could, like, if you listen to what Josh Trank has to say about it, you can believe that, like, Josh Trank just was the wrong guy to make this movie. No matter what story you subscribe to about like why this movie went wrong, I don't see any way to see this other than the movie went horribly wrong.
I mean, like, his influences were 1981 Scanners and 1986's The Fly, which I now kind of understand. But I'm like, that's where you went wrong.
Yeah. You shouldn't be like that. Should not be the influence for a Fantastic Four movie.
No,
that's not the right starting point. But I mean, there's just so much about this movie that goes completely off the rails. But let's go with a quick recap of the plot because
so all right,
it starts out in high school, or not high school, middle school, and Reed Richards is spacing out while doing a career day presentation. And then he says, he goes to the front of the room and says, I want to be the first person to be able to teleport things and people. And his teacher clowns on him so hard. And then he says, no, I'm building it in my garage. We cut to Ben Grimm's family's junkyard, where Reed Richards is broken into the junkyard, and is trying to take a power converter. Ben gives it to him, and then they go to try to test out the teleporter. Which, by the way, the teleporter is powered by about 50 Nintendo 64s. There's a wall that has 50 Nintendo 64s. I know, like, yes, suspension of belief, whatever. How did Reed Richards at 12
That was my question.
manage to get, and they're all green. How did he manage to get 50 green Nintendo 64 consoles? Like, what? I don't know, but either way, he does that.
Because especially, like, if we are, okay, 7 years later is what they're going to jump to.
This is in 2007, by the way, that he's built.
Right, so the N64s would be even more expensive at this point because they were retro.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
because
like
the GameCube released in 2001. So
right, it's not like you're dealing with a 90s time or something.
We're talking 11 years removed from the first release of the Nintendo 64. And it's not even like the basic black color, like the base color. It's all green Nintendo 64s, all in a row. And he somehow has 50 of them, and that powers this. Either way, the teleportation slightly works. He blacks out the neighborhood, whatever, but it slightly works, and there's sand that appears. 7 years later, they cut forward. Ben and Reed are presenting a better version at a high school science fair. And it kind of works. It kind of fries the plane that they teleport, the miniature model plane, but it works. And what we get here is we meet Dr. Franklin Storm and Sue Storm. Sue Storm, in this case, is an adopted child from Kosovo, and which, by the way, her accent when she does it is Russian, which is cool. Good detail. And they recruit Reed Richards because they've been trying to build a teleporter to another dimension because they think that the Earth is dying, and the only way to do it is to exploit another dimension. I mean, honestly, like that alone, not a bad setup for the movie. I think that is a decent place to start from. Of like, oh, you can have some intrigue here of like, why are we doing this to like save the world when we could be doing something else? Like, we shouldn't be messing with other things. Like whatever. There's interesting parts here.
Yeah, I mean the opening is mostly fine, I would say. My biggest complaint while I was watching it, I guess, is that it doesn't feel like Reed.
No, not at all.
Like, it feels like what they would think hipster Reed Richards would be, right? Like, almost like when they did the Andrew Garfield Peter Parker, and they were like, "Oh, we gotta make him like a little cool, but like socially awkward," and like, it just didn't really feel like he was as smart as they kept saying he was. You know, like sadly, I'm almost siding with Homer in this. Dan Castaneda plays his teacher, who plays Homer Simpson, which is why I said that. But like, you know, they try to make him be like this asshole teacher, where it's like, and I get it, he was kind of really harsh, but I'm also like, nothing we really seen shows that this thing is doing what it's supposed to.
Yeah. Also, like the teacher obviously is going to think that this kid doesn't pay attention in class and scribbles numbers and random equations into a notebook. Like, what? Like, yeah, obviously you're not going to think anything of that. Like,
well, that's what's weird too, though. Like, wouldn't he see his actual test results? Like, not science test. I mean, like school tests, where he would know this kid actually is bright. Like, I don't understand why he's like treating him that way.
I don't
it doesn't
know,
make any sense.
Like, it really doesn't. And
but like the base of it, of like Reed doing something at his age, that's impressive, and then Franklin Storm getting it, that all tracks. Like, that part tracks. It's just like how they get there with the 64, right? The Nintendo 64s, with Ben being like a bullied kid and like a quiet kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's very out of character, which honestly,
it's not Ben.
That's the theme for all of this. I think overall, like the biggest crime of this movie is that it feels like a generic action superhero movie. It doesn't feel like these are the Fantastic Four. If they didn't use the names, there's nothing to distinguish like, oh, that's the Fantastic Four. Because like, even though they have the powers, it doesn't feel Fantastic Four like. I mean,
and then of course
that's the main thing.
They had to make Sue adopt it because they made the decision to cast one of them white, one of them black, instead of just like, if you're gonna go Michael B. Jordan, maybe just go with an African American woman as well. Like, I don't understand why we had to.
Or also just like have like there's such a thing as like mixed families, like
exactly.
like my family, for example, like
because it adds nothing to her character.
Yeah, it takes away a lot of like the connection between her and Johnny.
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of, so like the whole thing of why Franklin Storm is recruiting Reed Richards to this is that he is contracted by the military to find this dimension, essentially. And he is recruiting a bunch of high schoolers to do that because that is obviously the best way to do this.
Why go and find like this world's Tony Stark or Peter Parker? Well, I guess Peter Parker would also be a high schooler, but why go find them when you can go find exploited high schoolers?
Yeah. Also, like, if he was going, why was he at the high school science fair to begin with? Like,
I assume, this is what I assume, is that he is scouting high school students at science fairs to see if any of them have anything that he can bring back to the Baxter Foundation. That's like for grants and stuff. Like that's the only thing I could think of. And then he happens. Well, I don't know. Because this is where it falls apart, Jack. Because then when they send the plane through there, and then it comes back with the dirt on it, they're like, we got the same thing, and they like hold up the jar of dirt. So they knew to bring this dirt with
right, exactly. Okay? And also, like, how do you know it's the exact same thing? You just saw it
for the first time. You didn't test it. You'd have to test the dirt, right?
Yeah. It's I don't know. I just think it's a little weird that Franklin Storm's hanging around a bunch of high schools, is all I'm saying. Like, what was he doing there? But so they recruit him. They also recruit disgraced founder of this project, Victor Von Doom, which in this instance is from Latveria, not like in the 2005 version where he's just a dude, So there's that, but it's only like in a little dossier that it shows he's from Latveria, whatever. And they recruit him, and also Johnny Storm breaks his arm while street racing. So his dad says, hey, if you want your car back, you have to do science work for me. And it's like, okay, well, I guess, like, sure, he's smart. I get it. Johnny Storm isn't necessarily dumb. That's fine. But also it's just
really
like
his thing.
Yeah, right.
It's not really his thing to do.
Again, another example of like feeling like mischaracterization. Like Johnny would not be like the type of person who's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be running simulations to see how this works. No, he'd be in Reed Richards' ear, just making fun of him and antagonizing Ben, like until they start a fight and Sue has to stop it. Like that's more Johnny Storm in my mind. But anyway, they do this. They build a teleporter to go to this other dimension.
Yeah, they call it a quantum gate.
Yes, the quantum gate, which they test, and it's with a monkey. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's successful. He's back. His vital signs look fantastic, as it said in the movie, I believe.
I didn't catch that.
So then the military comes in and says, okay, guys, good job. Now we're going to get NASA involved to go there. And it's like,
which, to be honest,
smart, right? Like,
the real scientists, not the high schoolers. Yeah, like that's
they just paid, so they probably put millions of dollars into this project, right? If not even close to $1 billion or more, right? And so it's like, yeah, we want to send professionals and not 19-year-olds and a random 35-year-old to this other dimension. And so they get drunk because Victor Von Doom is like, hey guys, let's party.
He's
And
like,
then
hey, drinking age at Latveria
yep.
is 18.
Which
We'll be
again,
fine.
I mean, I guess sure, it's college, whatever. They can do what they want. I don't care. It's a fictional movie. I'm not going to
Right.
care
So
about
how
it.
much time has passed at this point?
It's
Because
unclear, you know.
nothing pops up. But like
Yeah.
they were in high school, they just leave and they
Yeah.
go to the Baxter Foundation, and he is going to go to school there.
Which also feels like an unaccredited institution, technically.
Yeah.
But like, so I don't know. It feels
weird.
a lot of things feel very sketch about this, about the Baxter Foundation. But anyway, Victor gets them all drunk and decides to say, "Hey, let's go
Let's
anyway."
just do it.
Yeah, because he's like, "Do you remember who made the rocket that put the guys on the moon? No, you remember Neil Armstrong. So we need to be Neil Armstrong." And they're like, "Well, we need 4 people." And so instead of getting Sue there, Reed's like, "Let me call my boy Ben at like 1 a.m. presumably, because he is asleep." And also, so because they say that it is a 40-minute drive from
Yes, they're
where
hanging around.
Yeah. So they're just waiting for 40 minutes for this random guy that Reed's just like, "Nah, he's my boy. You got to wait."
Yeah, what do you say? I'm not
Like,
doing it without him.
yeah, and they're just like, "You're telling me that Johnny Storm wouldn't just be like, see you then, I guess." Like, like, anyway.
Because, well, here's the problem with that, right? So the plan is for them to get, like you said, they're drunk
Mhm.
and come up with this on a whim. But then you 40 minutes, you have time to kind of sober up and be like, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Right.
Like there's too much time there to be like, we're still gonna do it. We're still gonna do it.
Yeah, right. Like they're waiting for 40 minutes, and after 40 minutes of waiting, they're still like, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's go to a different dimension." With, by the way, no one's supervising. Like they're just fully going to another dimension that no one has stepped foot on. They sent a primate in a capsule and did not open the capsule. So they have no idea what this world is like. And they're just like, "Yep, doing it." So they do that. And also, because they're going to be cheesy, they're going to plant a flag, an American flag on in this new dimension. And so they go there. And then they plant the flag, and it opens up green energy. Spooky. Very cool. And Victor Von Doom is like, "That green energy, I want to see that." Which, like,
You know how much I rolled my eyes when I saw the energy being green? I was like, oh, okay, this is how we get Doom.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, like, sure, whatever. And
he
they
turns
go
into like 3PO at the end of this.
Yeah, because we'll get to that. We'll get to
Ralph.
that.
Seriously, people, look up Ralph McQuarrie's art of 3PO, and I swear this face is the same as what Doctor Doom shows up in later.
It's the the 2005 Doctor Doom doesn't look good either, but this Doctor Doom looks so much worse.
Here's the thing. Okay, so I actually do think 2005's looks a lot better.
Yeah,
not just because this looks like crap, but I think like if I look at it, I think I can tell like this is. I can tell who it is. I'm like, this is Doom.
Yeah, well, at least he has the mask, right? Like,
yeah, he's got the mask. He's got like the usual look on, doesn't he?
This guy just has an environmental spacesuit that essentially gets
Fuses
burned
with
onto
him
his
or something.
Yeah, fused to his skin. Okay, whatever. Like, but anyway, they go to the green energy. Good for them. Again, no surveying equipment or anything. They're just gonna check it out. Like, Ben is like tepid about this, and I'm like, okay, that's maybe the first good characterization of a character we've gotten so far. But then we get in the same breath Johnny Storm saying, "Nah, I'm not going to go check that out." No.
Yeah. Well, okay. So one, they come all the way here for him to be like,
"No, I'm not going. I'm not doing that."
No.
Which is just convenient for plot for the plot that's going to happen. And again, by the way, this is about 45 to 50 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
again,
if you're wondering what they're doing the whole rest of this time, it's literally nothing.
Before that, I mean, they are talking about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, if they're Reed Richards, and which is actually is kind of important. So just keep 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in your mind, because it's actually very important for this movie, believe it or not. And so they decide, let's go check the green energy. And Doom decides, I'm going to reach in there because that seems smart to do. And they do that, and it causes an explosion of energy. And and then they run away from the explosion of energy. And Doom falls behind. The energy legitimately like grabs him. Like I don't know how else to describe this, but the energy like actually grabs him and burns the rope off and swallows him into the ground. And Reed, obviously very in character, is like, hey guys, we can't leave. He's still alive. We need to get him. Not my Reed Richards. No. He saw that. If he saw that in the comics, he'd be like, there's about a 95% chance that man is dead. So we're going to go and do the practical thing. Like, you cannot convince me that he would be like, no, we got to go back. If anyone would do that, it would probably be Ben. Like, I think that would be the more likely possibility. They get back into the capsule, and Sue has been alerted that the quantum gate was activated, so is remotely bringing them back because it's not working. But as they try and get back, things went wrong. And so this is how they get their powers. And two of them make sense. Two of them make zero sense. They all make zero sense, quite honestly. But here's the thing. So Ben can't get his door closed, and rocks start flooding in.
Yes.
So
okay.
Yes.
All right. So pause real quick.
Mm-hmm.
This is when they first showed the rocks, the dust with the teleporting thing. I was like, oh, that's how he becomes a thing. Like, I already had that in my mind. I was like, that looks like orange sand rocks. Like, that's going to become the thing. That is the only one I can understand. I don't really understand the rest. So if you have, I guess the flame, is that the other one you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
So like rocks get in. So the rocks presumably fuse to Ben's body. Like that's the most rational explanation. Sure. Johnny's glass on his capsule breaks open and a flame comes out of nowhere and starts burning him. And I guess that means he becomes the Human Torch. Sure. That makes some sense. Sue is on the other side, and like the quantum gate has like force fields to like stabilize it or whatever. And when the quantum gate comes back into the dimension, it blasts out this energy because it explodes and hits her with that. And I'm like, okay, we're stretching it. We're stretching it now. But fine. I guess it makes some sense. Not really, because she's nowhere near that and behind a layer of glass that we've shown in the past through 2 other tests that is resilient to this. But whatever. And then the one that makes 0 sense whatsoever. Reed, presumably nothing. Like, he's able to close this thing. He's chilling. He's fine in the capsule. And like,
let me head canon it for you. Ready?
Okay.
So because he wanted to go back for Doom, he would have to outstretch a hand. So because that was on his mind, the powers granted that wish by making
it's like
him
a sword in a hat type thing. It's a sword in a hat thing. I see it. The energy was like
Gryffindor.
Yeah, that's what it was. But like, and at first I remember when I was watching this at first, I was like, so he doesn't have anything happen, and then he's trying to crawl towards Ben, and he looks back and sees his leg has stretched once they're back because it's trapped under something, and then he passes out. Great, they now have their powers. It is an hour into the movie, and there's 40 minutes left.
Yeah. And then before we move on, all right, I got it ready for us. Are we ready? This is Ralph McQuarrie's C-3PO
Okay.
artwork, focused on the face, with 2015 Doctor Doom. I swear it's the same face.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That
You
is
have the
that
same
is the same
look.
thing.
The eye is just like a little dot, like his green eyes.
Yep.
He's got the big sunken features, right? The mouth is just a line, and then you got the nose.
Honestly, though, like this Doctor Doom looks kind of like the Lizard from the 2012 Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, I could see that too.
Like, if it was worse CGI, you know, like, or like, I mean, like it feels like a pre-render of like the Lizard. I guess.
Yeah,
like,
before they add the scales, they're
yeah,
like, this is what he looks like.
Yeah, but so that's how this goes. They make it back, whatever. We cut to an army base that has been set up.
Oh yeah, 1 year later.
Yeah, 1 year, or not quite 1 year later yet. Because first,
you mean when they get captured? Yeah.
First, there's the most horrifying scene in this movie, which like I usually we've talked about this before. Like I don't usually think most CGI looks bad. Like I can respect that you have to suspend your disbelief for a little bit for a lot of this. They show Reed Richards just wearing like underwear, basically, stretched out on like in like an X shape and like strapped down, and the legs look like, I looked at that and I was like, I felt my skin like crawling. I was like, that is like uncanny valley type stuff. It doesn't look right. Like this is why like stretching powers, if they're going to happen, make sure he's in a suit, because man, that did not look good at all. And the shins specifically, that's what did it for me. Like the shins look so glossy and like I don't like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's asking, where's Ben? And in response, they're like, give him 150 cc's of sedative again. Like, and again, remember, these are like 19-year-olds. So their parents presumably saw that there was an explosion at this place where they were going to school, or at least where Reed was going to school. And they have no news of his whereabouts. So they probably think he's dead. Like,
and there's no way Ben shows back up to his family in rock form either.
Right. No,
so,
I mean, yeah,
they have to presume he's dead until the public unveiling of the Fantastic Four, which does not happen in this movie.
No.
So
they remain secret. They remain very secret. But anyway, and then before the 1 year later cut, Reed is like, I am getting out of here. So he de-stretches his body and then stretches through the vents and sees Ben for the first time. And Ben hears him and he's like, Reed, you have to get me out of here. And he's just like, got you, man. I'll be back. And then he dips. He stretches out of the vents. There's an alarm because they notice he's gone. And he just leaves. And then we cut to 1 year later. Reed is just gone. He just ditches Ben for a year. Again, not Reed Richards. Not in any sense of his character. Bad choice.
I guess what they're going for is that when he says he'll be back, he does mean it. He'll come back a year from now. But
yeah, but also like,
man. At least tell Ben it's going to be a bit.
Yeah, like it's like if you're saying I'm going to be back, like if for example, like one of my parents like walked out of the door and was like, "Oh, so hey, I'll be back soon," or "I'll be back," I'm not thinking, "Oh, right, like in 2 years."
Well, you see, like, this is where Reed would be like, "But I didn't say I'd be right back."
True, I guess, yeah. But also, like, even a year later, he is not any closer to going back for them. Like,
no, he only goes back because they come at his door, pretty much. But
yeah,
you know, he is trying to. Okay, when we get hit with the 1 year later, I was gobsmacked. I texted you. I was like, 1 year later, what is this?
Yep. So. In that 1 year, do you want to tell people what happened in that 1 year?
So in the 1 year later, the Fantastic Three, the Tremendous Three, that are currently operating, which are the Thing, the Invisible Woman, and the Human Torch, are all government assets, military assets.
Only one of them in the field, but
one of them is in the field. The other ones, they're ramping up. Okay, they're ramping up in the field. But I have to read you this because this plays, and I texted it to you, and not something I ever knew about. Okay, nothing I ever knew about this movie. But there's a screen when they're talking in the military base, and they're showing footage of the Thing wrecking people, clobbering people.
By the way, pantsless. Ben does not get pants in this movie.
No pants. At least in the new one, he's got pants and a sweater. He's got no clothes here.
No clothes here.
It says he has confirmed 43 kills.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like
43 kills.
That's the
in
thing.
A year.
Yeah. No, that's Ben Grimm. That's totally him. That he would do that.
I'm just picturing to him just saying it's clobbering time to each one as they die.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we haven't mentioned this. It's clobbering time. The way that Ben gets that catchphrase in the comics, there's no like origin, like where or backstory to where it comes from. In this movie, it's clobbering time is what his abusive older brother would say to him before he would beat him. That's where the phrase "it's clobbering time" comes from.
So he's taking on the persona of his abuser when he's killing these 43 people.
Yeah, but also like
44, because they're gonna kill Doom. The 44, actually. Sorry, confirm.
But like I think about this because I'm like, Ben in Civil War legitimately like sees fighting happening and he's like, nah, I'm going to Paris, man. Like he just did. He's like,
where's a beret?
I don't want to be involved in this conflict. Ben, yes, he has a rough exterior and he can fight. Literally. But his thing isn't like actually fighting to hurt people. It's like fighting to help save the little guy. Like that's his whole thing. And
so you know what this kind of felt like? Because it kind of felt like the whole Anakin kneeling to Palpatine. When the military is like, Reed left you, and he's like, I must do what I don't know. Yeah. Like it's very like, what have I done?
They literally just gaslight him too. They're just like, Reed's not coming back for you. He doesn't care about you. Like I mean, it's just.
And he has no growth. Like there is no growth in this. Like when he teams back up with Reed and stuff, it's never like an apology or like, oh shit, I killed 43 people. That doesn't.
No.
And then they have, with this,
they have one conversation with each other. By the way, like
yes, before they go and face Doom, right? Like before this too. Before we see that, they're prepping like Johnny to go in the field. And
he's down for it too.
He's down for it. That's
the craziest thing.
Crazy.
Like, he's just like, oh yeah, the military's testing me to do this in 6 seconds. I can do it in 5. I can outperform them. And like,
I thought okay, they show after the year later him taking down like I guess drones or something. Yeah. But I at first was thinking he had just homelandered this plane. I was like, oh my god, 43 kills for the Thing, 200 kills for the Human Torch.
Yeah, it's just like it just at least Sue is the most in character here, and because she's like, I don't think we should do that and like be government agents. I think this is a bad idea, and I'm like, oh my god. But she's still. But then Dr. Franklin Storm is like, the only way you'll be free is if we complete this the quantum gate again, and we need Reed to do that. So Sue, by the way, before this has the power of pattern recognition, like actually like a superpower level almost. It's I don't know why, but she just does. And she uses her pattern recognition to track down Reed Richards, who is using the most obvious like online pseudonym to anyone who has talked to him, because apparently Reed Richards' best pickup line is picking up a copy of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and was like, "Hey, girl, you ever read
Have
this
you ever
thing?
heard of this?
Have you ever heard of this? It has Captain Nemo in it." And everyone who has ever existed is like, "Yes,
Yeah.
I know 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea." Even people who haven't read it are like, "Yeah, I know who Captain
It's about
Nemo
a
is."
captain that
Yeah.
just like he explains it, and we're like, yeah, that's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, and also you're talking to a genius, right? Like she is identified as a genius at this point.
Right.
And you're like, I doubt she's heard of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Anyway,
What
though,
a wild. Okay, so like we can joke about it and all that, but what a wild choice for the script. They couldn't even pick an obscure book. They had to be like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Like,
yeah,
what?
like
I
it's
made
just
a
like,
joke to you. I was like, it's like
oh yeah,
saying,
hey,
oh, I love this story about this woman who is on the run for being the fairest of them all, and she hangs out with some dwarfs. Like, have you ever heard of that one? It's really good.
yeah, it's just ridiculous that. But anyway, Reed Richards is identified because he uses the pseudonym Captain Nemo, or sorry,
CPT
underscore N3MO Nemo.
Yeah.
And she just is like, Captain Nemo, that's him. And it's like, yeah, who else would be doing that? Like, bro,
I just want to say too, all of those letters, you know where else they appear? C3PO.
They were trying to tell us. They were trying to tell us. But anyway, like they're just like, we found him. And Reed, by the way, is hanging out, and he can mold his face, and has become a Latino man.
A different actor, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's a little problematic. Is that a little problematic? That he
I think a little bit. I think slightly that he's just like.
So here's the question: how does it work? Can he blackface? Like,
Right,
you know, like
what is the limits of like what is he doing here? Like
he turns Latino, so like
yes,
but he only stretches. So you would think that the skin tone would stay the same,
right? Like I don't know what like, but he's able to contort his face into someone completely else. And also, you thought it looked fine.
It did. I mean, I think because I knew where it was going. I was hoping that this would be him because this might be the only Mark Waid thing that stayed in here, but there is a Mark Waid comic where he is making faces to Franklin, his kid, and he is stretching his faces and stuff. And that is what it made me think of. And I was like, that is like, he should be in hiding like this. He should be not able to be found with like face recognition.
No, I get that. I just have issue with how it looked because it looked really unsettling in the like in between the transfer. Like I did not like that. But anyway, he's trying to rebuild the quantum gate, but just for himself, presumably, because it's a one-person design that he's making.
I think maybe he was going to fix himself first, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. But then what's his plan?
No, he keeps looking up Ben. I think his plan was to find Ben and fix him because he is deformed, like as rocks. I think the other ones, he's like, we can have superpowers. That's great. But like, Ben, not you.
Okay. Not you, no. He took one look at him and he was like, yeah, maybe not. And
this has to end.
But anyway, like, also, if you're trying to be in hiding, why are you constantly looking up the one guy they can trace you back to? Like, come on, man.
And no, like piggy banking it off of other IP addresses or anything. It was very simple.
Yeah, like it's very like he searches only for components that would be used to create the quantum gate and Ben Grimm. And it's like, I wonder who else that could be. And you're telling me the military's intelligence agency couldn't figure that out?
No, they needed the Captain Nemo reference.
Yes, that's what tied it all together.
They didn't know he was into Captain Nemo. That was the piece of trivia.
Never hit on any military intelligence officers, is what I'm hearing.
That little nugget was only for her. Okay.
Yep.
And that is just, again, he's not like that. He's only looking up that he never searched like, where can I stream Arrested Development in whatever country he's in?
Bro was not trying to hide. Like he was just like very out in the open. Like, yes, these are the two things I am interested in. And it's like, like at least when they're like they can't track down a pattern, I was like, okay, maybe there will be like a cool like a like sort of a triangulation type thing that it's like super advanced or something, and like
Or like
whoa,
he's always ordering these parts on like a shifting perspective. So like not every day or not every other day or every once a week. It's like he's purposely thrown the scent off by doing
yeah,
it in certain ways. Or
or
maybe
like
he's
from
looking
different
up
locations, like gone to like a public library or something and done it.
right,
Like
or maybe he's like looked up places like the store he picks the item up at, but he doesn't look up where he can find the item. I don't know. And then she puts the pieces of like, oh, that type of place would have this thing that he would need.
yeah,
I don't know.
but no, it was just I need music, and then she saw Captain Nemo and was like, guys, that's like his thing.
She got through one song. I mean,
Yeah,
so this is
one song. Yep.
this was so 2015 with the I need music. It helps me think. You know, and then cut to her listening to music in her headphones. I said this. I think Sue is kind of written like those quirky computer person on like a procedural network TV show.
Yeah.
Like it felt very like I was watching NCIS and they're like cutting to Abby, the quirky girl that is, you know, she's like, I gotta have my music, and then she's like
Yeah.
looking up stuff, and it's like the easiest, like almost like the clatter of the keys is like enhance,
Yeah,
there
right,
it is.
right. Like it's again the lends to the whole very generic like action
Yes.
type movie.
We get
Extremely
Reed saying like, "I'm no good to you, to anyone. It's all my fault," and he
generic.
says it kind of
No,
like that. It's very
that's right.
plain.
And also Reed is just out and about one day, and the military with 4 different choppers and like 15 guys comes to him, and also he just like fights he fights 15 military officers off by himself. Just like it's just like okay, man, that's cool, good for you. And then the thing comes in, and as you said, he's like, I'm no good to you, and it's like, then why are you trying to fix it? Like you're literally, if you truly believed that you were no good to fixing this, then like were you not just doing this like literally 5 minutes ago?
Who knows?
And Ben just like knocks him out, and then he wakes up in the equivalent of a fish tank on one of the choppers, and Ben and Reed have their only conversation with their powers, like just the two of them. And Ben also basically says about his military stuff, he's basically like, nah, I do this for the love of the game, man. Like he's like fully, nah, this is part
I'm trying
of
to
me.
get to 50. All right, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm trying to set a record or something. Like
And at this point, I texted you. Literally, all that has happened is he got picked out from his school project. They made it larger, got powers, and ran away. Like, literally, I'm at this point. Like, how do I have 30 minutes left, and nothing has happened?
And I then corrected you as well and said, well, the credits are 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So you have 22 minutes, and this is now where Act 3 starts.
Yeah, and we get Reed and Johnny like getting like reacquainted, and they hug, and I'm like, they barely know each other.
Yeah, they just got drunk together one night, man.
Well, because Johnny got in trouble, he starts working with them for maybe a couple days.
Well, I mean, we don't know how long they're working together, right? Like
at least not a year, because
not a year.
They would have said a year.
They would have said a year. That's the established cutoff.
Maybe
right? Like,
a couple months.
Yeah.
Right. They go on a trip. They come back. I don't even think it could be a couple months. Reed is like, when Doom's like, hey, you got to stop flirting and get to work. He's like, oh, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like it's supposed to be days. But anyway, Johnny and Reed hug. And I'm like, you barely know. They were gone for a year.
Yeah. Also, like, Johnny isn't mad at him for ditching them. Like,
no. Well, you know why? Because he's like, I got cool fire powers and I'm a government asset now. Like, this is great.
Yep, very, very, yes, obviously very in character for Johnny Storm. He famously loves conforming to,
Authority.
yes, conforming to authority. That's his whole thing. Because that's why he was on the side of Reed Richards in Civil War. Oh, wait a second.
I was gonna say, or like why he loves Cassandra and Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Like he
Yeah,
loves authority.
yeah, that's totally Johnny Storm. But anyway, they test it and like they fix this in like the most baffling part about this too is the reason why it didn't work is Reed just goes and is like, oh, you have some source code in the wrong place.
Yeah. So here's what's crazy to me too. So I hate these type of stories where they're like, this person has done it once with us, but then they're gone. We need them back. It's like nobody was taking notes to know like
Right?
what
Also,
it was supposed to be.
Here's the thing that bothers me the most about this. This is, again, a multi-million-dollar government contract, right?
Yes.
You're telling me that, yes, the lab exploded. Sure. You're telling me there were no backup servers for any of the code, right? Like the fact that the thing that doesn't work, that prevents it from working, is that the code has a few lines out of order, means that they tried to recreate it from scratch. So they had no backups of anything,
like a cloud or anything like
right,
that.
Like it's 2014.
And that was around in 2015.
Or it's 2015 in
yeah.
this because it's 7 years after 2007 and another year. So it's 2015 in this. There are clouds. There are like Dropbox existed in 2015.
Yeah.
You're telling me that there was no like emergency flash drive? Like the military was just like, now we just need one copy of this multi-million-dollar project.
So that's the thing, right? Because like, here's the thing: when they send the chimp over there, if it had failed, then they would have had to restart complete. Nobody had any thoughts of like this could go wrong. Right? Maybe we should have a backup somewhere.
It's just crazy, and like so that works. And they also, here's the other thing that baffles me. On the first test, they actually send real people over in that. Like it's almost like they cut out an entire scene in between there. Because the test includes actual people on it, like a team of scientists going over. And so they do that. And they start surveying this. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's a human here. And their first intention is, oh, go towards it.
Well, we got to bring them home. It might
go towards it. You are in another dimension, and there is a random human figure
that looks like this.
Yes, that looks like that, shambling towards you, and your response is, because they have video feed too.
Yeah.
Right? So they can see it. They see this, and they're like, go towards that.
And of course, the main guys know who it is. They're like, oh, there's no way that can be Doom. He's alive. That's crazy.
Yeah, like and so like and so they come back and oh wow, Victor Von Doom, he's alive. Whoa, cool. They bring him back on a gurney and everything. And they're recapping everything and they're like, oh, your suit fused to your body. That's about it. Like that's all they say. And of course the like team wants to talk to him, whatever, right? And they're like, no, go to your room. And so and they just like comply with that. They're just like, all right, go into our rooms. They do this, whatever. Doom is questioned by the leader, Tim Blake.
Yes.
So I don't actually know the guy's name. I'm going to be
Tim Blake Nelson. This is Tim Blake.
No. The actual character.
Oh, the character names. Oh,
I have no clue.
You couldn't pay me to remember these.
He's the main military guy anyway, and like so he comes and he's about to try and gaslight Victor as well, like he did to Ben, but Doom is like, yeah, no, you shouldn't have that power, and I'm like, honestly, very fair. Like, yeah, this dude shouldn't have that power. I kind of agree. He's actually a bad person, like, sure. But then he goes a little bit too far, and he kills the entire group of medical staff and the leader. So I'm just going to call him the leader because he's...
And I was very proud of this too. I said, no wonder the leader is the one who warned Sam of the other worlds. He saw how awful this world was.
Yeah, he was like, dude, they're messed up, man. You do not want to see...
He's
You
like,
do not want to see Ben Grimm from this universe. Like, it's pretty grim.
He's like, this movie is so bad. We are like, Sam, they're coming for you.
Yeah, like, you don't want pattern recognition Sue and
Killmonger,
pantsless Ben
Human Torch.
Grimm, and like you do not want that. But anyway, they do all this, and then Doctor Doom is like, "Well, I'm gonna kill all of Earth." What do you mean? Like, and how he does this is he takes the quantum gate back and opens a black hole through time and space to do that, and which they actually do allude to that slightly, like when they first recruit it, where Sue is like to Reed, "Oh, if you weren't careful, you could have ripped a black hole into the world." So they identify this pretty quickly. But by the time like Doom goes through this, there is 10 minutes left in this movie. 10 minutes. So they all follow the four follow through this thing. And they go there. And at first, they all try and fight him one by one. They each make one pass at him. Like, each of them gets one attempt, and they get completely destroyed. Like they're... Ben
Again,
gets
very,
crushed, right? Like,
very Anakin coded here. You get the him taking on Dooku by himself and immediately getting dispatched. Like, that is what this is like.
Yeah, and it's just like completely deals with all of them. And God, like what even happens to... Oh, Reed somehow is able to like kick him down, right, a little bit, and kick him into a crevice. And Doom apparently has the power to bend. He's an earthbender, so he can bring rock up to lift himself up. And so they're finally like, again, another conversation. The first time they actually act as a team in any way. They're like, we've got to... The line specifically is, he's stronger than any one of us. And then Rita's like, but he's not stronger than all of us. And then Ben's just like, what's the plan? And then it cuts, and then they do their plan, which is just basically...
They still do each one thing at a time,
yeah,
but
it like Reed taunts Victor Von Doom into talking. Sue makes Ben completely invisible as he runs up, and he runs up, punches Doom, and says it's clobbering time. He goes into this giant column of energy, and Johnny Storm flies through the air and moves this like disintegration portal and disintegrates Doctor Doom. Like, and then they have to get out of there because Doom is holding the portal open because he is the portal, I guess.
Who knows?
And I don't know. He is. They say that. I don't know how they come to that conclusion, but he is.
He is the portal.
He is the portal. I think the line is, as long as that thing's kicking, so is he. And it's like, okay. Like, I don't know how you put those two together because there's actually nothing to indicate that. Like, there's nothing that says that. And Sue Glinda bubbles them back out of the portal right before it closes, and they come back and there's a giant hole in the ground where they once were. And at this point, there is a minute and a half left in the movie. The Fantastic Four very quickly turns down the offer to be military agents because apparently they all suddenly had a change of heart. The Thing no longer wants to make it 50 confirmed kills. He's done with that. And they ask for a lab. This is the point where I'm thinking, because I didn't remember this part, I'm thinking, oh, so they're going to get the Baxter Building in New York City. Cut to a random mountain in a jungle, like a random lab, and that's where their lab is. But of course, you get the one redeeming factor of this movie at the very end, where they're like, I think the four of us should have a name. And Ben says, I gotta say, we came from the garage to this. It's fantastic. And then you get Reed turning and saying, say that again. It's fantastic. And then he says, guys, I think I got it. You ready? Cut to credits. Fantastic Four. That's the movie.
So what Wikipedia says is that this new base is known as Central City, which is it is one of the homes of the Fantastic Four.
I don't see any city in that. That was a mountain in the jungle. Like
I think they're saying like the lab would be called Central City. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's
either way, like
it's not. No, but very 2015 coded here with the ending at the credits before saying Fantastic Four, because we also get that with Age of Ultron with the Avengers.
Yep.
that one had payoff.
That
one had payoff in Endgame.
Also,
this one's payoff is that it got Josh Trank off Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So
better writing as well, because we talked about this as well before. Every single line delivery in this feels very stilted. Like, it feels very unnatural.
And these are big, like Kate Mara was in House of Cards at this time, and I loved her in that. Like, she was great.
Yeah, and I mean, Michael B. Jordan, we know is a good actor.
Yeah.
Like, these are not bad performers. Like, I don't blame any of these performers for their performance. I fully believe they did the best with what they got. Like, but also, when you get a script this bad, I imagine it's hard to feel like I mean, really
just listen to it. Sue, manually override the extractor. I'm trying. Like, that's how it sounds.
Yeah.
And that's like when they get their powers.
There is a lot of telling instead of showing in this. Like, if there is something happening, someone has to be narrating what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, like,
again, the part where she's like, I need music, it helps me think. It's like, yeah, you could just show her putting on music to work. Like, that we would understand that, like, because, like, okay, when I'm at work and I'm doing my work, I don't like put on my headphones and be like, podcast, they help me work. Like, I just do it. Like, and people understand what I'm doing.
And also, they establish earlier in the movie that Sue likes music. Like, in that conversation where Reed is attempting to hit on her by asking, hey, I know you're pretty dumb, so you probably haven't heard of this book before. Insert most popular book of all time here. Like, but it's just like, she says, I like music. I love recognizing the patterns in it because it helps me relax and focus. Like, you could have just easily, like, just shown her putting in headphones and getting to work. But it reminds me
because we already know that from her saying it earlier.
Exactly.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah, like, but it reminds me of the meme image that was going around, like, with the Avengers, like, when it was Kang Dynasty. Like, the Ant-Man still of where it's like, X name, I need you to go distract Kang. Right? Where they'll put, like, Bob the Builder, I need you to go distract Kang or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, the writing it feels like that, but for 100 minutes. And it's not very good. And, like, I mean, I wanted to ask you, because I don't think there's any highs of this movie, really. I have one. Do you have anything that you can say that you can give any credit to this movie for?
The credits?
I mean, it does end. I have two things that I can give this movie.
Seriously, my highlight that I've still come away with is just that face changing scene. Just because of comic precedent. It's the only thing I was like, oh, that's kind of like Reed.
That's kind of like it. That's close enough. It's like, if you squint a little, it's basically Reed Richards.
It's basically that Mark Waid scene I really like.
It's basically, except with none of the heart or joy or anything.
That, for people that don't know, that panel I'm talking about is like it kind of fixes it's Mark Waid fixing Stan Lee's work of like having Reed be like, I'm Mr. Fantastic. And that's the thing. Like it fixes that, you know? And it's this, like you said, it's a very heartfelt moment where he is talking to Franklin, who is at an age where he cannot really, or it might even be to Valeria, right? The daughter. I don't know if it's to Franklin, but it's to one of the kids. And it is this moment where the kid is not understanding, but it's like how, like when I talk to my dog or when I talk to my kid right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like they don't understand what I'm saying, but they just like what I'm saying. And like he is doing the funny faces to make them laugh, and it like is him monologuing and explaining like this whole thing. And it's a really great page that people share it all the time to kind of be like, this is what we want from Fantastic Four. And yeah, so like it's definitely, you have to squint really hard and kind of have like your, in my thing, like take out my contact so it is blurry, then squint and be like, yeah, that's kind of like
right. The things that I will give this movie: one, it created perhaps the best meme that has existed in like superhero
now. This
online
meme
spaces.
is it just me, or is this meme only taken off in the last like year?
Maybe it has, but
Because I feel like I've never seen it until like everybody's saying it now.
No, I think it's great because like when I was playing Marvel Rivals with my friends like online, we would be in a call, and if anyone said fantastic, we would say that again.
Oh my god.
Like every time. I think it's like it's not meant to be funny, right? Like it's meant to be kind of serious. Because you can hear the swell of the music and everything. Like this is meant to be like a very like you're meant to go like leave the theater and go like, oh, that was so dope. Wow. That's how I got the name. They're the Fantastic Four.
It really straddles this era of like we want to have comic book stuff, we want to be serious, but we don't want to, like Fantastic Four is silly in a name, so we're not actually going to say it, but we're going to allude to it because we're a little ashamed that we're doing this movie.
Yeah.
But you know, it's very that, but then it's just taken on like it. Some of this stuff is so cheesy at the end anyway.
Yeah.
You know, before you even get to that point.
I mean, also, showing off of that, I can't remember what it is, but I think originally they wanted to change Victor Von Doom's name. Right. Originally it was going to be Victor Dumashev. They were going to change the name.
And then later they would just like,
and then they were like,
he would just call himself Doom after.
Yes. What like whatever. And the other thing that I will give this movie is that the Human Torch, like in Torch form, looks very close to like the earliest comic book adaptations of the Human Torch in a very cool way, right? Like you can't see any of the suit or anything. It just looks like a flaming dude, which is kind of cool. The characterization of the character of that, bad. Yeah. Pretty bad. The one, maybe there's a few glimmers, and maybe that's just Michael B. Jordan being a good actor, being able to bring things out. Like the idea in general of, oh, I can do that in 5. Like they say I can do it in 6. I can do that faster. That gets close to like an actual thing that I could see Johnny Storm saying. But when it comes out of the context of I am a military asset in training, it doesn't feel right. You know, like it's, but I also think like they sideline so many of the more interesting elements of these characters that makes them so much less interesting. Like we don't even get Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm interacting like at all. They interact once in this entire movie, like before they get their powers or after. And the only thing is a slight jab where like Johnny Storm, like in the naming scene or whatever, right? Like the Human Torch and his torchettes and a big ugly pile of rocks or something, right? Like it's that's closer to like kind of getting towards the antagonism there. I feel like that also still kind of misunderstands their relationship, kind of like the same way the 2005 version does. Like they don't, I don't know, like I feel like there's just not enough interaction. Like it's the Fantastic Four missing the team and family dynamic that makes them different from other superhero teams, right? Like the Avengers are a team, but they're not like a family.
Right. They're coworkers.
Right. They're
Thor
coworkers.
says it. I know him from work.
Right. Like they might get along with each other for the most part, except they don't.
Civil War.
Right. Except for the whole Civil War thing. But like they're not like a family, right? They are very much their own distinct, separate people who come together for the greater good, whatever. The Fantastic Four are like a team and a family first. They're the first family and they're a family first. That is what makes them distinct from any other superhero team, which is why when you make a movie like this that guts all of those elements out, you end up with a generic, at best, superhero adaptation, right? Like I think that's the thing that back in 2015 that made me the most upset about this, is it didn't feel like it wanted to be a Fantastic Four movie. It felt like it wanted to be a hero-ish movie but more like a sci-fi movie with hero elements, right? But it doesn't feel like it has any of the elements that make things work. And also, like, it's notable that this movie does not, I believe, doesn't have a Stan Lee cameo at all.
No,
I think it's one of the only Marvel movies, like when he was alive, that doesn't have a Stan Lee cameo in it. Because the Amazing Spider-Man had it. I believe the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man had.
They did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The X-Men had it. Yeah.
He's not in this, and I feel like that says a lot about this movie, because I feel like it's missing everything that Stan Lee put into these characters, that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby put into these characters, that makes them who they are, right? Like the absence is literally there, but it's throughout the entire movie. You like if no one said anything to you while you watched this and you took out where they mentioned Doctor Doom, you wouldn't know that this is a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, oh, they're ripping off the Fantastic Four with the powers, at least. Like that, like, but this isn't the Fantastic Four. Because it's not. Just plain and simple. But I will also give the movie this. It at least puts the expectations for the new movie coming out in a month and 6 weeks from now has to do so little to surpass this and to be a good Fantastic Four movie, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that.
Yeah. 6 weeks for us. This will be releasing 4 weeks out from from that. So yeah, we'll be, dear listener, you'll be just a month away at this point from the movie. And every single week here on Fantastic Fridays, you will be getting Fantastic Four coverage of stuff leading up to the movie's release. But yeah, like you said, it puts the expectations. Look, people's expectations were really low even after 2007. Like I remember, I enjoyed Rise of the Silver Surfer. I thought it was cool. It didn't connect with people, and it killed the franchise for a bit, enough where they needed to reboot. And then this comes out, and I mean, the whole reason I avoided it was mainly for the vibes I got on it, where I'm like, this doesn't even seem like the Fantastic Four.
And now you can
hashtag not
confirm.
my Fantastic Four.
And now you
right?
can confirm that it definitely does
It
not
is
feel like
not.
the Fantastic Four.
The biggest sin of this movie, in my opinion, is that it's boring.
Very true.
They had butchered the characters, but they still had a lot more action scenes and it was entertaining, I would maybe give it more of a pass. But when you have this movie not becoming these people don't even become the Fantastic Four until the end of the movie. They get their powers more than halfway through the movie. It is at that point where it is like, what are we even doing here? Right? It's generic action schlock, like you said. So for me, for that is the biggest sin of this movie. It be along with the character assassination. But like I said, at least if it was interesting, like I just watched Superman Returns, and a lot of people say that movie's boring. I gave that one 3.5 stars compared to this being 1 star because while there is not people's biggest complaints of Superman Returns are that there is not a lot of action. I'll tell you, it still has more action than this movie. Enough that because I had this one in my mind, when it came to me watching Superman Returns and I hear it doesn't have action, I was like, oh, it's got quite a few scenes in here.
Yeah. I mean, compared to this, right? Like, there is legitimately, in terms of action, you can give it, I guess, like, I'm trying to tally up things. Like, a minute while they're trying to get out of the other dimension when they get their powers. There's like 20 seconds where Reed is fighting some military agents for a little bit at the end of the second act. And then the 3 or 4 minutes where they're fighting Doom out of like 100 minutes. Like, you're talking 5 minutes of a supposed action superhero movie is action. And it's not, and the rest of that 95% isn't like fulfilling character work or anything like that.
None of them grow. None of them grow at all. They don't get better. They don't they just kind of wipe away the military atrocities that they did. And it's kind of like, that's it.
Yeah.
Reed doesn't really redeem himself for leaving just because
he doesn't apologize once.
No.
Like, everyone's just kind of chill with each other at the end. And it's like, are you sure about that? Like,
because they beat the bigger asshole. That's why.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, clearly he was the problem. The guy that you presumed was dead and got consumed by energy and had his suit. Like, honestly, like, Doom, there's a lot of things. Like, this Dr. Doom, also not very good. I think there's parts that are kind of interesting that you could build on, of him being like this guy who wants to like have power or whatever. Kind of interesting, but that doesn't get built on. It's like at the end, he's just like, I have my world now, so I'm good. I want to kill Earth. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
His whole project was to save Earth, but just because he gets left behind by accident, because he went ahead and when he shouldn't have.
And also, does he know that he got left behind, or like how does he come to that conclusion necessarily? Because
yeah, who knows?
Yeah, whatever. Like, and also he didn't think for once like maybe the machine broke. Like, whatever. It's a bad movie. It's not worth. There's already so many plot holes. It's not worth poking more into it. Like, but the other big thing about this movie is, because we talked about that third act is so fast. It's so fast for the third act, but the other 2 acts just drag on for so long.
This was the movie I most recently just kept pressing a button on my remote to see how much time was left.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where you're just like, I remember clicking that like when they were testing the machine, and I was like, okay, how much? There can't be that much left, right? Like, and then I look and I'm like, surprisingly, there's like very little left for what I thought like, there's still some space to go. And then they're like, not really. There's just going to be a lot that happens in 20 minutes.
Yeah, once
But
you told me to minus the 8 or 9 minutes for credits too, I'm like, I got like 5 minutes left, and
yeah,
they're like just fighting him now.
yes,
Yeah,
like just not a good movie. I mean, honestly, like if you want to watch this movie in preparation for the Fantastic Four, the only thing that I can say is it's to set your expectations to zero. To remember that for this new version to be a good Fantastic Four movie, it has to do shockingly little for like fans
I don't know
of.
if I agree with this.
I
Here's what
mean,
I'll
like
say.
it
Right,
compared
like
to like if you're basing your expectations on like to be the best Fantastic Four movie. Sorry.
right, but I'm just saying, like my expectations were at 0, and
Mhm.
just still disappointed them.
That is true. It does.
And what you're making it sound like is eat some garbage so that way when you get the ice cream it tastes better. It's like, no,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know about that.
at best, that's what this movie can do. At best. But even then, I don't think that's a good use of time. Like,
Yeah, no,
it really isn't. Like,
this is not a good movie,
no,
and I will probably never watch it again.
no,
I will not own it. It is no, thank you.
yeah, it like buy get a Nintendo 64 instead, one of 50. That's
Build
a
your
better.
own quantum. Go to a world where this movie doesn't exist. Is what
Yep,
we're
yep.
going to
Build a
suggest.
quantum gate. Go to where this movie doesn't exist, and or if it does exist, where the original writer was still involved and didn't get frozen out by Joss.
Yeah, yeah.
Because maybe
Why?
maybe it could have been good. Like that idea sounds promising. It could have been good. We'll never know.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's just just I think without a doubt in my mind, the worst Marvel movie ever. Like this is another thing. If anyone ever tries to tell you that like Miss Marvel is or the Marvels is the worst Marvel movie ever made or anything, tell them to go watch this and then tell them to defend it because this is like there is even X3 the X-Men the Last Stand
Yeah.
is like
Apocalypse.
a million X-Men Age of Apocalypse a million times better than this.
Yeah, it's not
Like
boring. At least that's for
yeah,
sure.
like there's action in it. Like there's a cool Quicksilver scene in Age of Apocalypse,
Yeah,
right? Like
that
that
that beats anything in
that
this movie.
that's really cool. Like that's more action in that one scene than this entire movie has. And there's more of a team dynamic that actually forms in that movie. So yeah, this is by far like the worst Marvel movie of all time. And
Well,
I'm just very excited that everything that we've seen so far of this new movie looks
yes,
like looks like it's doing the exact opposite of what this movie did. It's actually looking like it gives good characterizations of the characters. They gave Ben Grimm clothes, thank God. And
and
they're not
hopefully he doesn't have a confirmed kill count. That'd be
right.
nice.
Hopefully, I mean, like it looks like he's just like entertaining the kids on Yancey Street by lifting cars. Like
Yeah, and
that's
he's like
fun.
making food and
He's
stuff, right? Like,
he needs to add a little bit of zip to it. Like
yeah,
that's it. Like that feels better. Like every indication of this, like if you put these side by side, you're like everything is different, and that gives me hope for this new movie. I will say, perplexingly, perhaps watching this movie has made me just so excited for the new one because I'm like,
same, because
I'm
it's
like
like they're finally getting their due. They will, like you said, one that they're actually wearing the suits with the 4 on it. It's not like, oh, there's 4 lines on Johnny's left chest, which means
yeah,
that it is the 4. No, it's none of that stuff. It is the actual suits. It's got, they got Herbie, they got Franklin. Like they're going to have. It is the Fantastic Four. So
yes,
I'm very excited for it, and I think that's a good place to kind of just wrap up the discussion of Fant4stic. We're done with that. Never talking about it again on this channel. Thank you, Jack, for that punishment of making me watch this.
Hey, I had to watch it too, so like,
Yeah, see, you played yourself.
yeah. I
But
said
there,
this as a joke originally, and then you're like, "Oh wait, we should do that."
we should. I mean, like, look, if I was ever gonna watch it, doing it in the lead up to this movie makes sense.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's the first Fantastic Friday. It only gets better from here because our discussions next week is going to be about Fantastic Four Life Story, the comic book, which I am actually a big fan of. I don't know where people usually land on that one, but I really like that comic. And then we have, we're probably going to look at the Ryan North run that he's been on. People have really talked that run up. And then our last one in the week building up to it will just kind of be like final thoughts, last wishes for the franchise, for the movie, what we hope to see in the movie, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so those will be our 4 weeks of Fantastic Friday coverage as we build up to Fantastic Four. Don't forget to keep, we got a couple more Superman Sundays coming up here as we're building up to our Superman stuff here on Soups and Sabers. So very busy July. We have a very busy July here, but thank you, Jack, for coming on and talking this atrocious movie.
hey, why not?
All right. Well, that wraps us up here at Soups and Sabers on all of our social media. Thank you all for watching or listening along with us here. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next Friday for some more Fantastic Four.